Okay, what do I want to say? I kicked off this channel with the statement that this life is a journey of self-discovery, and I still hold that to be true. What I think self-discovery is, or at least what it is for me, the thing that matters the most is that we find fulfillment. And that's a little bit of a misleading statement because I say find fulfillment. And the like danger of that statement is that to say like that we need to find fulfillment makes it sound as if there is something external of us that is going to give us fulfillment. And the truth is that that's not how life works. If you're looking for something that's external of you that's going to give you fulfillment, like you're very, go ahead and do that. You're welcome to do so. But the truth is that nothing external of you is going to give you fulfillment until you decide that it's time for you to be fulfilled. Until you take stock of what it is that you have in your life right now and the opportunities and the wealth, the abundance that you do have in your life right now. No matter who you are, no matter who's watching this video right now, there is a truth, and that truth is that regardless of what kind of situation you're in your life right now, your life is incredibly abundant. And I say that because you came into this world with absolutely nothing. And so everything that you have is something that somebody somewhere does not have. And we don't need to compare, but that's just to illustrate my point that if you are alive and if you are aware and capable of being mindful and present, then the world belongs to you. The world is in your hands. Because we make the mistake in our lives of looking at some large thing and thinking that my life will not be complete until I achieve that. My life will not be complete unless I gain this thing or I achieve this goal. And that's a very dangerous game for us to play with ourselves, because the problem in that, the problem with that is that once you get there, once you achieve that goal, or once you acquire that thing that you wanted so badly, you ride this little high from it. You get the feeling of fulfillment, but it's really a temporary feeling because eventually it fades out and you wonder what the next thing is. And so truthfully, we know this. Like, this is knowledge that we have, as people, have built and understood, and we've solidified this in ourselves. Like, we know this to be true, that if I want to be rich someday, I'm going to work and focus on the future and worry about being rich, being successful, gaining status, make other people like me, make sure that I live in a nice big house. And then you get there and you achieve everything that you wanted, which is great. But if you're focused on that, you do all of it, and then you get there and it's empty. Why do I say this? What experience do I have who am I to say any of this? I lived in one of the poorest counties in the United States, which is not saying a lot because most of us in the United States are pretty well off. But as far as the U.S. goes, I used to live in a state in New York State, upstate New York, Allegheny County, and I was not well off. That was after I was taken away from my parents at the age of 12 and put into foster care. So I lived in poverty for most of my life. The majority, well, not anymore, actually. I'm getting older, so I guess like the 50-50 split is getting a little different. But I lived a large portion of my life, a large portion of my childhood in poverty. I was homeless with my parents for a while. And I had nothing. I mean, our house was burnt down. A lot of things. I won't go super into detail. But the reason that I'm saying all of this is to give you perspective of, I know what it's like to have a lot less than what I have now. I used to only drive beat up old cars that were rusted out and barely passed inspection. I used to live in a house that was, I'm grateful for my home and I'm grateful for the people who took me in. But it was much less nice than what I'm living in now. It was, you know, and it's easy for me to say, sure, that now that I'm living a little bit of a better life, it's not perfect, but it's a little bit better than it was before. It's easy for me to say that this stuff doesn't matter, but the truth is it really doesn't. Because to be honest with you, when I first moved down here, when I first made the move from where I used to live and I came here, I was still miserable because I was looking for things that were not going to bring me happiness. It doesn't matter if you have a tiny little room that you live in or if you live in a grand mansion. If you don't make that space your own, it won't make you happy. And if I lived in a small studio apartment, if I had to go back, for me personally, this is just me speaking from my perspective. If I had to go back to living less abundantly than I do now, there are certain things that I would do to improve my internal state. And one of those things is that I would keep my space much cleaner than I used to. And I would own less. I would keep less things. And I would just create a peaceful space. And this is easy to do. You don't need money or to create a peaceful space for yourself. And that's what I would do for my home-wise. Because we spend a lot of time at home, most of us, unless we're working a lot, which I work a lot, but still. And really my point is that I got all of the things when I was 17, 18, 19 years old. I asked for all of these things. I wanted a nicer car. I wanted to live in a nicer house. I wanted to live in the city because I lived in a rural area and I thought that the rural area sucked. And the thing that I realized is that sure, it's nice, but it doesn't bring you some kind of everlasting inner peace. It's you who decides when it's time for that to happen. And I got a newer car and I forget that I even have it most of the time, you know? You drive, I drove, like I said, from the time I was 17 until I was 23, I drove nothing but beat up older cars. And then I finally got a newer car and it's only been a few months and I've already forgotten, I've become numb to it, you know? So when you're looking for material success, you know, you can ride that high, whatever, but that's just what it is. It's a high. You're not really gaining anything internally from that. You're just placing your happiness on things that are impermanent. You're placing your joy on things that are impermanent and that aren't really a part of you and they don't really matter. And you know, from a certain perspective, I'm 24 now, almost 25. And I have this YouTube channel. I've basically gotten everything that I've asked for from the time I was 17, 18, 19 years old. And I realize now that none of it is what mattered. What really matters is that if you have a goal, which you should, or I don't want to say you should because I don't want to tell you what to do. I don't want to control your life. But from my perspective, I think that it's good for us as people to have goals and aspirations and things that we're striving towards. But what works for me is that if I have a goal or an aspiration or something I'm striving towards, instead of focusing on making sure that I achieve that outcome and I get exactly what it is that I'm looking for, I'm instead using that as my heading. I'm using that as the direction that I'm going in. And if that's the direction that I'm moving in, then I choose mindfulness. I choose to be mindful and in the moment and detach from that faraway goal that I've set for myself, but just use it as the direction that I'm heading in. It's like looking at something in the horizon and you're walking towards it. But if I'm looking at the thing in the horizon, I can't see. If I'm walking through the forest or I'm walking through, you know, hills or whatever, the wilderness, and I'm looking at some far off thing, and that's my direction, that's where I'm headed, I can't keep looking at that thing because if I do, I'm going to trip and fall and not pay attention to where I'm going. So you have to be in the present moment instead. You have to be in the process. And the process is really the most important thing. If you're going to go on any kind of journey, and that's what this is, everything that we do in life is an adventure. It's a journey. And if you're going to go on any kind of journey, the least exciting part of it is when you get there. The least exciting part is You get to the end of the destination, and then what? You pack up and you go home. You know? So I think that that's really important for us to understand, is that you are already living in an extremely abundant fashion. And if you don't feel as if you are, it's only because you don't realize it. My life, even though I lived, like I said, I lived in poverty, but that poverty is only, you see, like the idea that I lived in poverty is only a comparative aspect of my life. That's something that I say that I lived in poverty, but that only means that in comparison to other people, I lived in poverty. And if I really wanted to be that way, I could say, well, right now I'm living in poverty because I don't have like $1 million in my bank account and I'm not, you know what I mean? Like if I want to compare myself to everybody, at most I'm like lower middle class. But to me, I choose to see that my life is extremely abundant and that I have opportunity. And the truth is that I always had opportunity. Even when I was homeless, I had opportunity. Because the real abundance of life, the real fruit of life, is the process of working towards something. The process of moving towards the things that you want. That's the actual exciting part. And you don't have to have anything to do that. You don't have to have anything to move towards the things that you want in life. You can be on the journey, and it's okay. We have to accept as people, it's okay for us to always be on the journey. There is no success or failure. I want to remove those things from my mind. Success and failure, not important. The journey itself, it's so fulfilling when you can look at life this way instead of seeing shortcomings because you didn't get exactly what you wanted, or being frustrated because you're not where you want to be yet. If you remove that from your mind and you instead choose to focus right here, right now, and what you can control, and taking action towards it and moving towards the things that you want, and living in the journey, living on the road towards your goals and aspirations, that is the real fruit of life. It is so fulfilling to have that mindset switch, to have that perspective, rather than looking off in the distance at the the thing that's very, very far away from you, and not paying attention to where you're walking. It's very fulfilling to live that way. Much love to you guys. Thank you for sharing this space with me. I hope that you found this video helpful. Just all the love to you guys, man. I'm so grateful for this platform. I'm so grateful for this community. I love reading your guys' comments. I have a second channel that I'm starting. I'm almost done editing my first video. I'm going to upload soon. It's casual content, stuff like playing video games with my friends, talking, making music. Making music is going to be a big one in the future. It's all going to be on there. So the link is in the description below for that channel if you want to subscribe. Like I said, no content yet, but it's coming very soon. I'm working on it. Again, much love to you guys. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next one.